Hello, in today's video I will show you how to set up and use the ScotchBlue Easy Clean paint sprayer. The first thing you're going to do is make sure that the on-off switch is in the off position. The second thing is to make sure that there's no visual damage to your air compressor. If it looks good, you're ready to plug in the hose to one of the two outlets. Now you are ready to turn on your air compressor. To do this, you will need to plug it in to an outlet. And then you're going to turn it on and let the pressure build in the tank to the pre-cut off level. Your air compressor will automatically stop making noise once the pressure has built in the tank. Now you want to set your pressure gauge for the tool to 100 psi. To do this, you adjust this knob here to set the tool to 100 psi. Once that is all set up, make sure you do not hear any air noises coming from your tank and that there are no air leaks. Now you are ready to move on to the spray gun setup. I'm going to talk to you about the contents that come in your package for the ScotchBlue Easy Clean paint sprayer. It comes with 3 liners, 1 paint cup, 1 spray gun, 3 lids, 1 regulator, as well as the coupler, 3 plugs, and 3 nozzles. You start by putting 1 liner into the paint cup. Next, you add your paint into the paint cup. And I'm going to start by filling up to the small project line because I'm going to start painting 1 board. Once you've added your paint to the cup, it's time to put on the lid. To put this on, press down and twist. Then you assemble the nozzle to the lid by pressing down and twisting. Once you have your paint cup and nozzle and lid secure, we move on to attaching the regulator to the paint spray gun. To do this, I recommend having some thread sealant tape and a wrench handy. I'm going to use thread sealant tape on each of the couplings to make sure that there is no air leaks going on while I paint. Once I have the thread sealant tape on the threads of the gun, I will attach the regulator to the gun. And use a wrench to hand tighten. Next, add thread sealant tape to the bottom of the regulator. And attach the coupler to the bottom of the regulator. Tighten with a wrench. And now you have the regulator assembled to the spray gun. To attach the spray gun to the paint cup, you flip your gun upside down like so. You press into the nozzle, attaching into these grooves, and you twist. Once it's locked in place, you are ready to flip your gun upside down and attach it to the air hose. If you're having trouble adjusting the dial on the regulator, it's because you need to pull out to make the adjustment. Then you press back in to lock it in place. If you've attached your regulator to your spray gun, but it's swiveling, try tightening the joint. Use a wrench, give it a nice tight turn, and your regulator should no longer swivel while you use it. Now this is a very essential part in setting up your spray gun to work effectively. There's the regulator dial here, and as you can see, the air is flowing and I'm getting a reading of 60 psi. When in fact, when I pull the trigger and the air starts to flow, this reading will change. So, I must dial in this gauge while I pull the trigger and the air is flowing, because that is your true reading. So let's get it dialed into 30 psi. Pull the trigger, get the air flowing, and get this dialed in. Now that the dial is reading 30 psi while I pull the trigger, I know that I'm close. Once I attach my paint to the gun, I'm going to want to repeat this process to make sure that I'm getting 30 psi on the dial while I'm spraying the paint. Now that I've painted my board, I want to move on to the rest of my project. However, I want to use the color orange, so I'm going to swap out the colors. I take out the liner with the paint. I put the new color in the paint cup. Attach a new lid with a new nozzle. Press down and twist. One question we get a lot is, how do you thin your paint? Well, we recommend to use the plug as also a measuring cup. For every 100 milliliters of paint, you use 1 cup full of water. So, I have my cup filled to 400 milliliters of paint, so I'm going to add 4 cupfuls of water. Once you've added your water to your paint, then you're going to use a stir stick and stir it up until it's all uniformly mixed. Now you're ready to spray. I'm going to remove the gun from the cup, nozzle, and lid. Then I'm going to remove the clean cup and toss everything else. Now I'm left with my cup and my gun, and I'm all good. I'm all set to go for next time. To turn off your air compressor, you want to turn your tool gauge down to 0 psi. Then you are going to turn off the air compressor and unplug it from the outlet. Once it's unplugged from the outlet, you want to release the air from inside the tank. There are 2 air release valves that you will need to undo. The first one is going to be on the side of the tank, and this gets the initial air pressure out. The second valve releases any moisture from within the tank, and it's usually located somewhere along the bottom of the tank. Once your air pressure has been released from the tank, you are ready to disconnect your hose and set your air compressor in a stored, clean, dry location.